Prayer will be offered by Chaplain Kibben.
Would you pray with me? Speak to us, O Lord. Speak to us in words we can hear and understand, for the cacophony of chaos has overwhelmed our ability to receive your guidance and discern your direction. Remind us of your servant Ezra, who, in embarking on a perilous future, petitioned God and then proclaimed a fast, calling the people to humble themselves before you, that you would lead and protect them on the journey. We often call to mind your reluctant servant Esther, but remind us that when she was faced with the annihilation of her people and heard your call for personal sacrifice in the face of political uncertainty, she too urged prayer and fasting, and then placed all her dependence on your provision. And so, O Lord, as we face times such as these, the ongoing war of atrocities in Ukraine, the tinderbox of terror that is Israel and Gaza, the divisive unrest in these very chambers, may we in prayer rend our hearts and not our country. May we fast, abstaining from all that detracts us from our reliance on you. Then may we return to you, O Lord, appealing to you for your guidance and protection. For you are gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Speak the word you would have us hear. In your sovereign name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House the approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Bost.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 7 of Rule 20, I move a call of the House.
Under Clause 7B of Rule 20, the chair confers recognition for that purpose. Without objection, a call of the House is ordered. Members will record their presence by electronic device.
So the process begins when it comes to day 2 of this idea of if a Speaker of the House will be elected in the House of Representatives. The process starting with a call of the House, as it's known. We'll talk about the technicalities with Stephen Newcomb of The Messenger. He serves as their congressional reporter. Mr. Newcomb, thanks for giving us your time.
Thanks for having me, Pedro.
So walk us through the beginning process, even the technicalities of a call for the House. Why is it part of the process?
Yeah, I mean, establishing the attendance here is sort of key. I mean, it changes the math depending on how many lawmakers are on the House floor. It could lower or bring higher the threshold that any speaker candidate needs to reach to become speaker. And if everybody is here today, like we expect them to be, that threshold is going to be 217 votes for Mr. Jordan to become the next Speaker of the House.
And so we saw when it comes to math, as you brought up, the number 200 when it comes to Mr. Jordan's tally. Where do you think that number is today, or at least what members are telling you?
Yeah, I think Jordan allies are expecting that number to go down. I mean, they're expecting some defections. I think that the opposition to Mr. Jordan is quite unified and organized. They are very upset with what they say was the pressure campaign that Jordan and his allies put on particularly moderates to get them to vote for Mr. Jordan, the Ohio Republican. So they're expecting some defection here, and there's growing calls to empower Speaker Pro Tem Patrick McHenry to be in that position for an extended period of time, and giving him extended powers to be able to bring up resolutions, pass bills, and things of that nature. So we're expecting to see that 200 to go down when the House votes here, and within the hour.
Can you elaborate on what you were talking about when you talked about the pressure campaign from Mr. Jordan and his associates?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was the playbook all along from the Jordan team. Is you saw Mr. Scalise, who threw in the towel relatively early, didn't go to a floor vote when it became clear that he wouldn't have the votes. But the Jordan team told me all along that their plan was to put lawmakers on the House floor, make them vote in public. I think that sort of, it's a more hard-nosed approach than others would have taken, like Mr. Scalise. And then also we heard talk of just a lot of people being reached out to, pressured to vote for Mr. Jordan. We heard chatter of threatened primary campaigns, and also members' wives being contacted as well. So I think that there's just people did not respond well to that pressure campaign. It pushed some members, particularly moderates, in a direction away from Mr. Jordan and his allies.
Stephen Newcomb, we've heard about this during the course of the last several days, but what's the plan B if it doesn't happen for Mr. Jordan today?
Yeah, well, I guess this isn't plan B, right? This is like plan D, or we're going down the ladder here. I think that again, there's growing support for empowering Mr. McHenry to have extended powers, and that is to pass resolutions, bring bills to the floor. There are people who disagree with that approach, including publicly. Mr. McHenry has said that he doesn't think that he has the power to do those types of things in his Speaker Pro Tem capacity. So one hurdle here is going to be convincing Patrick McHenry himself that he's able to do that. Our expectation, I just heard that Mr. Jordan wants a vote on a resolution to empower Mr. McHenry. That could come as soon as today from the House floor after the vote on Jim Jordan's speakership. So I think that that's where the direction that things are headed right now, and we could again see that vote as early as today.
We've seen Democrats coalesce around this idea of expanding the powers, but when the vote actually comes down, will the support be there?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a coalition of Republicans and Democrats. And, Republicans and Democrats that I've talked to, particularly Democrats, have said that these conversations have been happening, informally, quietly over the last week, 2 weeks, about what a consensus candidate, a consensus speaker, a consensus resolution here would look like. And I think empowering McHenry is sort of the popular solution that's emerging out of those conversations. So we'll have to see. Democrats have been united in their support of Mr. Jeffries, the minority leader. And we're going to have to see if enough Republicans and enough Democrats will come together to get that level of support to empower McHenry as the temporary Speaker of the House.
What's your sense on if the House Freedom Caucus and those who align themselves with the Freedom Caucus, their level of support for the expansion of power?
I don't think that there's going to be a ton of support for that. I mean, Mr. McHenry himself, a staunch McCarthy ally, somebody who helped negotiate the debt limit deal, has been by McCarthy's side in a lot of the happenings that the Freedom Caucus had problems with McCarthy about. So I don't think it's going to be popular on that side of the Republican conference. Again, that's why I think it's going to take some coalition of moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats, center left and center right lawmakers to push that across the finish line.
So we've talked about a lot of things, particularly what are you interested in watching today?
Well, first, we're going to have to see what the vote is for Mr. Jordan, whether that goes up or whether that goes down. We do expect him to flip some members who were no's yesterday. Some have said publicly that they voted no on Jordan on the first ballot, but plan to vote yes on the second ballot. Whether that can compensate for the moderate detractors that he's going to pick up in the second ballot. And then secondly, if they do move to vote for this resolution to empower McHenry, what level of Democratic support does that have? What portion of the Democratic Party is willing to partner with Republicans? And then what portion of the Republican Party is even interested in empowering McHenry as the temporary speaker? I think that those are key things to look out for as we go through this process yet again today.
Stephen Newcomb reports on Congress for The Messenger. You can find his work online here to talk about what to expect today when it comes to this speaker election. Mr. Newcomb, thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
202-748-8921 for Republicans. Democrats 202-748-8920 and others 202-748-8922. Feel free to text us at 202-748-8903 and then post on our social media sites as well. They're establishing the call of the House right now, and once that's done and they get to the actual process of voting, we will take you back to the House floor. Your calls until then. Angie in New York, thanks for waiting. Republican line, you start us off. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm going for Jordan. I want Jordan to be speaker because I want to know where our money is going. All the money that's sent to Ukraine, Iran, everything. I want to know about where all of that is going to. I think that a lot of the non-voters are afraid of Jordan because he's going to investigate and find out a lot of stuff, like who's corrupt, who's not, who's been, like, I guess Don Bacon, there's something that just came out that he's getting money from China. So.
Okay, let's hear from Tanisha in Texas on our others line.
Good morning. So I am calling to kind of point out as an independent that every time the Democrats come to the floor, they might fight behind scenes, but they are in lockstep. They come as a group. And that's pretty impressive. Whereas Republicans, they come on the floor, they can't get their act together. They can't come as one. They always defeat themselves. They always shoot themselves in the foot. That being said, I do support Jordan as a speaker. So I think they need to get their act together. The other thing I noticed is when Republican callers call in, if they start to talk about Trump, they're typically cut off or defend Trump. But I noticed with Democrat callers, if they want to bash Trump, they're allowed to speak. So from an independent point of view, it is obvious that.
Okay, well, as an independent, why Jim Jordan?
I think the lady from New York summed it up pretty well. I want to know where our money's going, and I think he's going to do that. And I think some Republicans are afraid about that.
Democrats line from New York. This is Barry. Hello.
Hi there. I just want to say in general, listening to the Republican comments, it makes me realize how little they have to say of interest to me, and probably how little of interest I have to say to them. But as a practical matter, I'm noting that on the first ballot, that Valadao, Ciscomani, Steele, Schweikert, Duarte, Kane, Nunn, Molinaro, Williams, Van Orden, and Calvert, all in very toss-up districts, all voted for Jordan. So I want to thank them for giving us ammunition, because come 2024 election, so far as I'm concerned, we're going to target them and kick them out.
Okay, Republican line from Karen. This is Karen in Michigan. Hello.
Hi, I'm calling to voice my support for Jordan and to those who seek the truth and to move American families back from the high costs of living, which are unsustainable for American families, dangerously deadly open borders, and also to voice my disdain and shock of John James, whom I voted for, sent him cash, had a yard sign, attended his events. He was quickly compromised by donations from questionable sources. See Laura Loomer's Twitter feed. Also, Rashida.
Okay, well, let's go back to Jim Jordan. Why specifically are you supporting him?
Pardon me?
Why are you supporting Jim Jordan specifically?
Because I believe that he will absolutely seek the truth, seek facts, and try to pull back the deadly and dangerous stopping of the energy sources, exploration in the U.S. I think that he will help to put the brakes on sending our money that we don't have to fund Ukrainian Nazis like Boneface, Kent McClellan, that was in Florida recently, with others that were also.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Let's go to our independent line. Let's go to Thomas in Maryland. Hi.
Hi, I'm calling from Maryland. I actually grew up in the Maryland suburbs. I started in politics in 59, 60 with Kennedy, so I voted for Kennedy. I'm an independent. I lean conservative. And one observation I'll make is this nation is so unbelievably divided. I don't even know if there's any room for getting together on either side. Both sides are at fault. That being said, I'm curious to know the Republicans that are dissenting from Jordan, what exactly is their objection?
Okay. That is a viewer there, and we continue on with your calls. About 80 people yet to register their presence as far as the call to order is concerned. After that, the nomination process starting. Again, if you watched it yesterday, name by name and person by person as they register who they will support for the next Speaker of the House. Let's hear from Jonathan. Jonathan is in Vincenttown, New Jersey, Democrats line.
Hi, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, no. So one of the observations that I'd like to make is that, I've heard there's a motion to put McHenry on the floor. I definitely don't see that Jordan has the votes at this point. And I think that the question for Democrats, especially for Hakeem Jeffries, is optics over government. I think that they definitely demonstrated that optics were more important to them when they voted to oust McCarthy. And I do see, I don't really see them helping to elect McHenry at this point when it serves, the mission of flipping the House, not to elect McHenry. But in terms of Jordan, I definitely see him as an extremist, and I don't think he has the votes right now. I've actually heard that he's going to lose votes today. And I think that as it goes on, you're going to see more people start to flip away from him.
200 votes for Mr. Jordan yesterday, 20 Republicans pushing back against him when it came to the tally from yesterday's election. How that number changes, we'll see as it plays out there. Again, this first step, so to speak, is to finish the call of the House and then move on to the actual voting process. Kerry in Alabama, Republican line. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. I say we just get together as the Republicans and vote. If it's not Jordan, let's get it together and vote somebody as Speaker of the House. Too much stuff is going on that we need to address. If the Republicans would do like the Democrats do, unite, wrong or right, but most of the time they're in the wrong, and just say, Jesus is coming. We got to get ready.
But if it's as far as they can't center around Jim Jordan, what Republican do you think they can center around?
Well, I don't care who it is. I do care, but we just need to gather around just one person and let's get this stuff going. It's just crazy.
Again, you can see this play out on C-SPAN, our main channel there, if you want to keep watching there. Perhaps you'd have to be out and about today. Feel free to follow along on our mobile app at C-SPAN Now and on your computer at cspan.org as we watch and wait to see what happens on the events of today. We'll hear from Arizona. Independent Line, this is Gabriel. Hello.
Hello, this is Gabrielle. I would like to know why people are supporting any of these America First caucus people. Do they not recall what happened in the past in 1939 to 1941 with America First people? They were the ones who supported Hitler. And they call themselves Americans? I question their mentality.
This is Tanner, Richmond, Virginia, Democrats Line.
Hi there. Yeah, I would just like to say this speaks so much to the division in this country. You know, Democrats and Republicans seem to more and more in years going by. You're on your side of the aisle, I am on mine, and we're not going to reach. And now that's coming for the Republican Party itself. There's division, and they can't seem to get it done. They can't seem to come together as a caucus. The Democrats are in lockstep. They're showing their support for their person, and I think that's wonderful. I think during their nominating speech, their one slip was a lot of mention of things speaking more towards what the Republicans did and not towards what Hakeem Jeffries has done himself. But otherwise, I think the Democrats are making a great show of this, and I really think this is just bad for the Republicans for the future elections. I can't say anything else but that.
A member of the leadership from both sides will make the pitch for their various representatives as far as Speaker as the House concerned. So expect to hear someone supporting and praising Jim Jordan for the job, and Hakeem Jeffries the same. Again, all part of the process as it plays out. John in New York, Republican Line.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The area in which I live is a Republican stronghold, and I'm involved in local politics. The resounding opinion here is why did the Republicans even put Jordan up? He's an election denier. He's part of the insurrection. There has to be a better Republican representative to support Speaker of the House. We're all Americans. Let's do what is best for America.
Which Republican would you support?
Scalise was a good selection, and I don't know why he is not part of the vote. Scalise would have been good, and there's a couple of other candidates I think that would have been good. I would prefer a moderate Republican who can look to the other side of the aisle to work with Democrats as well. This is what is best for America. We need to follow the word of the Constitution. And that's my opinion. Thank you very much for allowing me to call in.
Okay. Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana was at one time set, or at least in the process of becoming the House Speaker, took himself out of the running when support couldn't happen for him. Now that's turned to Jim Jordan. Again, we'll see how that goes as we wait for this call of the House to happen with 16 people yet to click in and complete the process. We'll take those calls up until then, and you'll get to watch it in real time, gavel to gavel, as it plays out throughout the course of the day. Let's go to Michigan Independent Line. This is William. Hi there.
Yes, thank you for having me. My concern is with Jordan. Really, he shouldn't be. He's the worst choice. He's been in there for 16 years and has produced no legislation. That's his only job, and it's a bigger problem in the party in general. I used to like some of the Republicans. Now they seem to promote the worst amongst them. Basically, you have just the dregs of society being put into positions of power. I just don't understand it. It's the dumbing down of America, at least in the Republican Party right now.
Okay. This is Angela in Kansas, Democrats Line.
Hi, I would just like to say I'm a Democrat, but I want McNary in there. I want someone who's going to work with the other side. Jordan would know the truth if it hit him in the face. I'm sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. I am a Democrat, but I want us all to work together. We are in crisis right now. We need someone to lead us and not do all this other obscure crap that they're doing, these far-right Republicans. We just need people to come together as Americans and support American country. I want McNary in there. I think he's the best. He has worked with the White House. He has done the debt. I just feel like if a Republican's going to be in there, we have to have somebody we can trust, and we cannot trust Jordan at all.
We're down to single digits as far as this call of the House process is concerned, so we'll go back to the House in probably a minute or so from now. Let's go to Missouri Republican line. Barney, hello. Go ahead and jump on in.
Yes, I am in support of Jordan. Everybody talks about obeying the Constitution, and what I've seen since Biden election is nobody obeys the Constitution anymore. They interpret it to their own means and own special things. And I'd like to point out to everybody who keeps denying Jordan is that the world is at war. They have strong leaders in the foreign countries at war. That is what they like, strong leaders from a strong country. Currently, that's not America. And Jim Jordan is a strong leader in the House. And we need a strong leader, not somebody who's going to wishy-wash.
Okay, independent line. Bernard, hello.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I'm an independent, but I lean conservative, and I'm supporting Jim Jordan for the nomination. I've been hearing a lot of comments about, he's an election denier, a MAGA extremist, et cetera. And, when it comes down to it, making America great again or America first shouldn't be a controversial stance. And the longer we hold out on the House Speaker nomination, quite frankly, I think we're saving the American taxpayer dollars because we're not sending more money to various conflicts around the world. I keep hearing about how the House is in disarray and in chaos, but this is what democracy is called, right? This is how it works. Democrats stick together when they come to the House floor, right? But yet the Republicans are being, characterized, as occultists, right? Well, the fact that you have folks within the Republican Party that do have disagreements and a different viewpoint on an issue tells you that they're not cultists.
Okay.
They are
That's Bernard there. Again, three members yet to cast their presence as far as the call of the House is concerned. We are set after that to start the process of the nomination of the House Speaker. Nancy in California, Democrats line. Don't know how much time we have, but Nancy, jump on in.
Good morning. The next Speaker of the House should be someone who's interested in protecting the civil rights of every person in this country. That includes voting rights. That includes reproductive freedom for women. That is not Jim Jordan. That is Hakeem Jeffries. Thank you.
Okay. From Bakersfield, California, Republican line, Daniel, hello.
I'm a veteran, and I sat there and I watched this little thing go on here, and I'm disgusted by it. We see veterans, could lose money. We see, and I see this stuff about, using the Constitution, saying we the people, when I see them Republicans, they're trying to, distort things like taking away books, taking away things, and they say they're the unifying party right now, and I'm kind of on the bubble of switching because I don't think they know what the truth is anymore.
Well, how does that relate to the House Speaker election?
Well, I look at Jim Jordan and I sat there and I see he hasn't passed anything. He hasn't, he's not working to anything. I called Kevin McCarthy's office the other day about this, and they just ignored me, and I think that Jim Jordan is a very poor person to be leading this party right now, because he's not looking to help the country, but he's looking to help tear it down.
And being from Bakersfield, what did you think of Kevin McCarthy in the speaker's role?
Well, again, I think he's better than Jim Jordan, but as you know, I speak for some of the veterans here. I'm a social worker. That he has a hard time telling the truth. He's been promising the veterans, a new clinic here for at least 10 years, and it still hasn't got one. So his trust level is, but he is better than Jim Jordan. I would support him over.
Okay, let's go to our independent line. This is our line for others. Wayne in Texas. Hi.
Yes. Good evening. These congressmen, they act like kids in a nursery. Stand up and be a person, not a kid. You was voted in by the people. You should honor the vote, but also be a person that will stand up for the government and do what is right, not what is wrong. Our veterans, they fought for this country. Our older veterans, they fought for this country. Stand up and fight for this country. Stand with your people that voted you in. Don't just go and be looking for something, a gift from the people.
Okay, that's Wayne there in Texas. 15 minutes was set for this call, time relative being in this process, waiting on those final members to put their spots in before we start the process. This is Lisa in South Carolina, Democrats line. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, yes. I'm saddened. I'm afraid. I don't understand the people that are voting for Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan almost has a war against America, which he's an insurrectionist. If he were to win, he's already said he's going to lock everybody else. He's going to tear down the justice system. He's going to impeach this person, that he's going to impeach people that don't even work for the government. America deserves more than that. We're a great country. We're great people. We have far more good people than these people show themselves to be. The small little dissidents, I'm not even sure why they allowed them to even make this move. So I'm really sad. He's an insurrectionist. He's not a patriot. He hasn't done anything but scream and attack, and he's against everything. The right for women. Okay,
that's Lisa there in South Carolina. We showed you a list of names of specifically those who voted against Representative Jordan yesterday, 20 of those names there. And one of the things you may want to see play out during the course of the day in this second vote is if those names will change from yesterday, if there'll be an addition of names who vote against Jim Jordan, if there'll be a change in names who actually vote for Jim Jordan when it comes to House Speaker. And you can watch that play out again when you watch C-SPAN, our main channel. You can follow along on the app and the .org too. This is from Olivia Beavers of Politico reporting that the representative was talking to Representative Garbarino, a current no on the House floor. So that's part of the plays out. Then there's also other reporting being done as people wait for this election to take place. Let's hear from Arizona, Republican line. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely Jim Jordan would be not a very good candidate since he's a insurrectionist, just like Donald J. Trump, who has all these charges against him, and no one's even looking at that. And a president that says he doesn't have to follow the Constitution after making the pledge for taking under oath that he would protect our Constitution. Now he doesn't seem to have to. That's why I switched to become a Republican Party, and I do believe that either Chris Christie would be a good president or Nikki Haley. Definitely none of these other ones, and I believe that every senator should have term limits. This is ridiculous that they can be in the House for years and do absolutely nothing.
Okay, that's a viewer there in Arizona. Again, down to one from the initial number that we started with in this call of the House. Some things being reported on as far as things going on the House when it comes to Representative Jim Jordan, again, who is waiting to see, along with everyone else, if there'll be enough votes for him to become the next Speaker of the House. Devin in Colorado, Independent Line.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Hi, you're on. Go ahead.
Jim Jordan, thank you. Jim Jordan and the Ohio State abuse scandal, Richard Strauss. I don't know why he's not getting pressed on this more. He has no values. That in and of itself disqualifies him from this job. I know people in his own district do not like him. So thank you for your time.
Some of the reporting there, Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News, saying that it was Representative Jordan talking to Republican leadership floor staff during this process. As you watch play out, he's went up to the Speaker's chair, talked to the Speaker Pro Tem, Patrick McHenry. And so what that means, who knows? But it's part of what you will see play out today. Zachary in New Mexico, Democrats line, hi.
Hey, good morning, sir. Good morning, America. Thanks for hearing my voice. I'm a recovering Republican service member, and I just wanted to share an insight. These folks are asking for someone to, that in 16 years, I know it's been pointed out, has never covered a bill. And they say things like they want to know where the money's going. Those two things don't align. Actions speak louder than words. I'm concerned that Democrats are not reaching out to the actual politicians there on the Republican side of the House there to make something work. I know there's people that aren't bringing ill intentions into the conversation here. And I think the Republican Party has established a foothold for someone like a dictator to come into this, and I think that's just what they're holding out for.
Independent line from Braden in North Carolina.
Hi, I speak on behalf of the students from Hendersonville High School, and we as 17-year-olds believe that this nation is divided and that what we really need right now is for this nation to come together to just be able to vote on a Speaker of the House so we can figure out this whole mess that we're in the United States.
Well, tell us more about your group and why you're particularly interested in this race.
We're in an AP government class right now, so we get to learn about current events and things that are going on in the nation. And obviously there's a lot going on, but that's what we've been learning about right now.
What have you learned from watching it from a classroom setting? What have you learned about the process?
We've learned about like the divisiveness, the division in the country, and what it really means for a Speaker of the House, like what they have to do. And we think it's extremely important to have one because we didn't really know what a Speaker of the House was, but now we know, and we know exactly why we need one.
When it comes to the debate in your classroom, as far as the Speaker itself, is it evenly divided? Are there those who support Jim Jordan, those who are against him? How does that break down?
It's very divided in this class right now. We've been debating about it all week.
Okay. Keep watching, and thank you for watching our network as part of your educational process when it comes to this play out. Appreciate students who watch, particularly AP classes all across the United States. They're interested in history and government. So again, thanks for calling in. Sarah Ferris from Politico reporting that centrist Republicans, as they're described, they're serious about this idea of giving powers to the current Speaker Pro Tem, Patrick McHenry. That's something that's being played out there. Democrats reportedly also watching that. It's the plan from Representative Dave Joyce, still highly secreted according to Sarah Ferris, expected to include language on a continuing resolution as well, including aid packages for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, and also the McHenry powers. So that's a new twist of reporting. Whether it plays out or not, we'll see. But that's Sarah Ferris from Politico reporting there. Again, we are down to this call of the House, which started well over 20, 25 minutes ago, probably longer than that. to establish the quorum to go into the voting process. We're waiting on a lone person to cast their slot in, and then we'll start the process out as far as the voting is concerned. Republican line, Christy in Missouri. Hi there. You're next up. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for taking my call. I need everyone to know Matt Gaetz is a hero. He made Kevin McCarthy. He tried to make him keep his promises that he made, and he didn't.
Okay, that's Christy there. By the way, our own congressional watcher who watches Congress for you, so you don't have to, so to speak, is Craig Kaplan. He is on Capitol Hill, posting on his Twitter feed. You can follow him too there at Craig Kaplan. That the lone holdout so far to that one number that you see. Representative Donald Payne, Democrat from New Jersey, not voted yet. So that's, again, more information you can learn from Craig at Craig Kaplan, who watches Capitol Hill for us. Let's hear from Daniel in San Francisco, Democrats line.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. So I think like the best speaker would definitely be Hakeem Jeffries, but I'd say if Jim Jordan doesn't succeed with the Republicans and they decide to go with the strange strategy of putting Trump up, I would rather say that we followed Jamie Raskin's thing that he floated, where he suggested that Liz Cheney might be a good option. And yeah, I would, while she's the best candidate, she would be way better than the alternatives that we're seeing so far.
In Florida, independent line, Heidi, good morning.
Hi. I used to be a Republican. After Trump got into office, I switched parties and became an independent. I feel that extremists on either side is not good for our country. And I would prefer to see Hakeem Jeffries there, but if not, I would say McHenry would be a better choice. Jordan, he snubbed his nose at a subpoena. He's an extremist. He's in bed with Donald Trump, and he would do his bidding, just like he's got the inquiry of impeachment against President Biden right now with no evidence whatsoever. So he's as corrupt as most of those right-wing extremists are. All of them have problems, so I wouldn't want to see him there at all.
South Carolina Republican line, Beverly, hello.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I feel like we need a speaker now, and Jordan's the next one to vote for, so I feel like the Republicans should stick together and vote for Jordan. But I wish we'd all love each other, regardless of our parties, that we would love our country and God enough to do what is right. I feel like we need to get back with God. Thank you.
Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News there reporting on his Twitter feed. You can follow along at Jake Sherman, saying now that Representative Mike Kelly approaching the Speaker Pro Tem Patrick McHenry. You'll remember, maybe not know, that Representative Kelly has a resolution to empower McHenry. We'll take you back to the House.
All members recorded. Clerk will report. On this roll call, 432 members have recorded their presence. The question now recurs on the election of a speaker. The tellers will please come forward to take their seats. If the tellers will please come forward and take their seats. Tellers. The gentleman, Mr. Stiles. The gentleman, Mr. Loudermilk. The gentlelady from Alabama. Ms. Sewell, prompt. Thanks. All right. The nominations are now in order. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of placing in nomination the name of the Honorable Jim Jordan for the position of Speaker of the House at the direction of the Republican Congress.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks and 1 day ago, I was on this House floor and in this chamber defending my very good friend and our former Speaker, Mr. McCarthy, from an effort to vacate the chair. And in the course of that speech, I made the remark that those who did this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we're going to put the Congress in a state of chaos and the country into a state of uncertainty. I think the last 2 weeks have vindicated that observation. But we have a chance today to end that chaos and to end that uncertainty. Now, when these races happen, there's always a lot of hard things said on both sides of the aisle. There's a lot of finger pointing that goes on. I don't intend to be involved in any of that today. I think the decision in front of us is far, far too important for that. But I am very proud to place in nomination the name of our good friend, my good friend, our Republican candidate for Speaker, the Honorable Jim Jordan of Ohio. I've had the privilege of knowing Jim Jordan for a long time. I've been in Congress for a long time. So for his entire period in the House, I've had the honor of serving with my friend. Now, my friend is not exactly a shrinking violet. You don't win national championships in college. You don't come to this floor with a sincere set of beliefs and a desire to make a change and be shy about it. And my friend is not a shy person. But I've learned some things about him over the years. He is a person of absolute personal integrity. I've never once had to question something that he told me. He's an honorable man. Also, I think we all know he's a pretty direct man, too. I don't think anybody in here on any issue of any substance would have to guess where Jim Jordan is going to stand. He doesn't deceive. He doesn't dissemble. He simply tells you straight up, this is what I believe, this is why I think it's the right thing to do for the country, and that's what I'm going to try and accomplish, and I'm going to work with you in any way that I can to do it. Now, the other thing I think we've found in the last couple of weeks is what it takes to be a speaker. And the one thing I know, never having been one and never having aspired to be one, that it takes a spine of steel to do this job. My friend has that kind of determination, has that kind of character, has that kind of spine. And I think the next speaker is going to need that quality, and I know my friend has it in great abundance. Now, if you're a Republican, it ought to be a pretty easy decision, my friends. You know, this is somebody who believes what we believe and has fought for and shown that over and over again. You know, I first got to know him, a lot of his focus was on spending. That's exactly where the focus of this House ought to be. Now, he's laid out a plan, not just a short-term plan, as to how we deal with the appropriations process. I'm an appropriator. I think I know that that's not the root of the problem. But unlike any other speaker we've had, he's had the courage to talk about a long-term plan and to get at the real drivers of debt. And we all know what they are. We all know it's Social Security. We all know it's Medicare. We all know it's Medicaid. No president of either side has been willing to deal with this. No speaker of either side has been willing to deal with this. My friend, our former colleague, John Delaney, and I offered a plan. I still file it every year. John's not here anymore. To go back and do in 1983 what we did then and address Social Security. We never can get any help. This is a guy that wants to create a debt commission, a bipartisan debt commission, and get at the roots of our spending problem. That takes courage. And Republicans ought to support somebody with that kind of courage. Now, he's not only focused on one thing. I don't know anybody that's done more to highlight and talk about the border disaster that is underway right now as we speak. You know, I had the privilege of serving here when Jay Johnson was Secretary of Homeland Security. I have a very high opinion of Jay Johnson. I think he's one of the finest public servants I ever met. And he was asked on one occasion to define what was a crisis on the southern border. And he said, anytime you have more than 1,000 illegal entries a day, you have a crisis. We have 10 or 11 times that every single day. And in that tide of humanity that's coming across, there is a boatload of fentanyl coming to kill tens of thousands of all of our constituents. There are human traffickers who are taking advantage of young men and young women and, frankly, predators in our own country, and they're bringing them across, not by the tens or the 20s or the dozens, but by the hundreds and the thousands. You know, there are amongst that flow of people, people that wish us ill, people who are not fleeing from oppression, people who are terrorists or criminals that are coming into our country for no good reason. Now, that is not an immigration problem. That's a border security problem. They are not the same thing. We can debate immigration. That's a worthy debate. We should never have to debate border security. Nobody's highlighted that issue like my friend Jim Jordan. Nobody's done more as a committee chairman to move legislation that would meaningfully deal with this problem. And this, my friends, on both sides of the aisle, but with all due respect, particularly this administration and my friends on the other side, you need to look at this. You need to look at this seriously. Don't confuse it with immigration. You ain't going to have immigration reform until we have border security. Cannot be done. This has been the #1 champion of that. It's one of the #1 issues that we have. Finally, I want to talk about something that can bring us together. There are a lot of things we disagree on, legitimately so. Most of us do not disagree about the security of the state of Israel. All of us. All of us on both sides of the aisle reacted with horror and with deep sympathy and with legitimate outrage at the crime that was perpetrated against the people of Israel in the last week. All of us, and all of us know that they are within their rights to respond forcefully and swiftly to defend their people and punish those who brought that upon them. So at a moment of crisis, and we are in a moment of crisis, we should come together and act. And we know we can't do that without a Speaker of the House. Now, it's a narrow majority, but my friends and I are in the majority. And we need to produce a Speaker. We have a candidate who we know where he will stand on issues that are important. We know where he's going to stand on spending because it's where he's always stood. Not like he's changed over the course of his career. I know what he's going to do on the border. I've read H.R. 2. I've seen what his committee produced. And it's not just money, it's policy and change that will provide security for the American people. And finally, and I say this on a bipartisan basis, I know he will stand up for Israel, and I know in that area we can come together. That crisis is on us now. We may get a request almost any time to act. We need to be able to act. My friend will act on that crisis. He's shown it his whole career. So it's with a great deal of pride that I have the privilege of nominating my friend, our chairman of the Judiciary Committee, but a person whose principles you know, whose actions you can trust, and who in a time of crisis will respond with the leadership we need. Jim Jordan.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I rise today at the direction of the House Democratic Caucus to place into nomination for the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Here we are again, Mr. Speaker. And I promise to make these speeches shorter if we get closer to a compromise, but I'm not certain that that's going to happen at this moment. While the Republican candidate for Speaker is making late-night backroom deals to secure the gavel, Leader Jeffries has once again extended the hand of bipartisanship for a path forward. One thing was very clear yesterday: the vote total, 220, 212 to 200. The People's House has spoken, and Leader Jeffries has the support to be Speaker that this country needs. Mr. Speaker, $212 to 200. No amount of election denying is going to take away from those vote totals. We shouldn't, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we shouldn't be surprised at the vote count. I noted yesterday the legislative acumen of the gentleman from Ohio. Would it surprise anyone that in addition to not passing a single piece of legislation, he's never put a piece of legislation that has made it to a committee? The Speaker of the House must be a legislator, and the gentleman from Ohio falls short in that regard. He supports an extreme agenda and is hell-bent on banning abortion nationwide, gutting Medicare, gutting Social Security, and giving cover to January 6th attackers. Those aren't the values that we share. If we don't see a speaker elected in this round, there's going to be another candidate and another internal Republican conference vote and a secret ballot, and the country can't afford more delays and more chaos. 15 days should be enough. House Democrats are united on this path forward. We're united behind Hakeem Jeffries, united to put people over politics, and united to lower costs, create better paying jobs, build safer communities, and defend democracy. And once again, we're coming together to achieve this common goal, and that is to make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House of Representatives. Almost, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Hakeem Jeffries has done what we haven't seen from the other side of the aisle, and that is to keep a caucus united. When extreme MAGA Republicans vowed to send our country into a devastating default, it was Leader Jeffries who led House Democrats to reject the extremism and keep the government open. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we have the vote totals to back that up. It has been Leader Jeffries and House Democrats who have shown a willingness and a conviction to keep our promise to deliver for American families. And it will be Hakeem Jeffries who will move our body and our country forward on a bipartisan path. Who on the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, will take yes for an answer and work with us to achieve 3 common goals? And my colleague and good friend, the gentleman from Oklahoma, mentioned one of them: supporting assistance to Israel, but what he left out was assistance to Ukraine and our national security objectives. Second, above all else, we must commit to keep this government open and functioning. And finally, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we need to put this body on a bipartisan path to achieve real results for the American public. That is what we were sent to do. That is what we need to do. That is why Hakeem Jeffries is the leader we need at this time to lead this chamber. I'd like to nominate Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House. I yield back.
No further nominations. The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Jordan. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. Jordan. Allen. Jordan. Allred. Jeffries. Amadei. Jordan. Armstrong. Jordan. Arrington. Jordan. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Jordan. Bacon. McCarthy. Baird. Jordan. Balderson. Jordan. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Jordan. Barr. Jordan. Barragan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Jordan. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. Jordan. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Jordan. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. Jordan. Biggs. Jordan. Bilirakis. Jordan. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. Jordan. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Boebert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. Jordan. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. Jordan. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. Donalds. Buck. Emmer. Bouchon. Jordan. Basinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Jordan. Burgess. Jordan. Burleson. Jordan. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. Jordan. Kamek. Jordan. Caraveo. Jeffries. Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas. Jeffries. Carey. Jordan. Carl. Jordan. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Jordan. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Jordan. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeReamer. McCarthy. Sherfilis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Cisco Mani. Jordan. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Jordan. Cloud. Jordan. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Jordan. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Jordan. Collins. Jordan. Comer. Jordan. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Jordan. Crawford. Jordan. Crenshaw. Jordan. Crockett. Jeffries. Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. Jordan. Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. Jordan. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries. Dean of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries. Dela Cruz. Jordan. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. Jordan. D'Esposito. Zeldin. Diaz-Balart. Scalise. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. Jordan. Duarte. Jordan. Duncan. Jordan. Dunn of Florida. Jordan. Edwards. Jordan. LZ. Mike Garcia. Emmer. Jordan. Escobar. Jeffries. Eshu. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. Jordan. Evans. Jeffries. Azell. Jordan. Fallon. Jordan. Finstra. Jordan. Ferguson. Scalise. Finstad. Jordan. Fishbach. Jordan. Fitzgerald. Jordan. Fitzpatrick. Jordan. Fleischman. Jordan. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Jordan. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Jordan. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin. Jordan. Frost. Jeffries. Fry, Jordan. Fulcher, Jordan. Gates, Jordan. Gallagher, Jordan. Gallego, Jeffries. Garamendi, Jeffries. Garbarino, Zeldin. Mike Garcia, Jordan. Robert Garcia, Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois, Jeffries. Garcia of Texas, Jeffries. Jimenez, McCarthy. Golden of Maine, Jeffries. Goldman of New York, Jeffries. Gomez, Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez, Scalise. Vicente Gonzalez, Jeffries. Good of Virginia, Jordan. Gooden of Texas, Jordan. Gosar, Jordan. Gottheimer, Jeffries. Granger, Scalise. Graves of Louisiana, Jordan. Graves of Missouri, Jordan. Green of Tennessee, Jordan. Green of Texas, Jeffries. Green of Georgia, Jordan. Griffith, Jordan. Grijalva, Jeffries. Grothman, Jordan. Guest, Jordan. Guthrie, Jordan. Hageman, Jordan. Harder of California, Jeffries. Harris, Jordan. Harshbarger, Jordan. Hayes, Jeffries. Hearn, Jordan. Higgins of Louisiana, Jordan. Higgins of New York, Jeffries. Hill, Jordan. Himes, Jeffries. Henson, Jordan. Horsford, Jeffries. Houchin, Jordan. Houlihan, Jeffries. Hoyer, Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon, Jeffries. Hudson, Jordan. Huffman, Jeffries. Huizinga, Jordan. Hunt, Jordan. Isa, Jordan. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Jordan. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Miller Meeks. Candace Miller of Michigan.
House will come to order. The clerk will continue.
Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Jordan. Johnson of Ohio. Jordan. Johnson of South Dakota. Jordan. 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 Joyce of Ohio. Jordan. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Kemlager Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. Jordan. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Jordan. Kelly of Pennsylvania.
Former Speaker of the House, the Honorable John Boehner.
Boehner. Kana. Kana. Jeffries. Higgins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. Jordan. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Jordan. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff. Jordan. LaHood. Jordan. LaLota. Zeldin. LaMalfa. Jordan. Lamborn. Lamborn. Jordan. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Jordan. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. Jordan. LaTurner. Jordan. Lawler.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. Jordan. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. Jordan. Letlow. Jordan. Levin. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk. Jordan. Lucas. Jordan. Lukemeyer. Jordan. Luna. Jordan. Luttrell. Jordan. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Jordan. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Jordan. Mann. Jordan. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. Jordan. Mast. Jordan. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. Jordan. McCall. Jordan. McLean. Jordan. McClellan. Jeffries. McClintock. Jordan. McCollum. Jeffries. McCormick. Jordan. McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry. Jordan. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Ming. Jeffries. Muser. Jordan. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Jordan. Miller of Ohio. Jordan. Miller of West Virginia. Jordan. Miller Meeks. Granger. Mills. Jordan. Molinaro. Jordan. Molinar. Jordan. Mooney. Jordan. Moore of Alabama. Jordan. Moore of Utah. Jordan. Moore of Wisconsin. Jeffries. Moran. Jordan. Morelli.
Mr. Jeffries.
Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan.
Mr. Jeffries.
Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. Jordan. Nadler. Jeffries. Napolitano. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Nagoose. Jeffries. Nels. Jordan. Newhouse. Jordan. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross. Jeffries. Norman. Jordan. Nunn of Iowa. Jordan. Obernolte. Jordan. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries. Ogles. Jordan. Omar. Jeffries. Owens. Jordan. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Jordan. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pasquarel. Jeffries. Payne. Payne. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. Jordan. Perez. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Jordan. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Jordan. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. Jordan. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Jordan. Rogers of Washington. Jordan. Rogers of Alabama. Jordan. Rogers of Kentucky. Jordan. Rose. Jordan. Rosendale. Jordan. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Jordan. Roy. Jordan. Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford. Scalise. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. Jordan. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos. Jordan. Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise. Jordan. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schiff. Jeffries. Schneider. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Schweikert. Jordan. Austin Scott. Jordan. David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Jordan. Sessions. Jordan. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. Scalise. Slotkin. Jeffries. Smith of Missouri. Jordan. Smith of Nebraska. Jordan. Smith of New Jersey. Jordan. Smith of Washington. Jeffries. Smucker. Jordan. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparts. Sparts. Stansberry. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Westerman. Steele. Jordan. Stefanik. Jordan. Style. Jordan. Stubbe. Jordan. Stevens. Jeffries. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. Jordan. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. Jordan. Tanadar. Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Tiffany. Jordan. Timmons. Jordan. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Talib. Takuda. Jeffries. Tonko. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Trone. Turner. Jordan. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. Jordan. Van Drew.
The Honorable Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Van Dyne. Jordan. Van Orden.
Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. Vesey. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. Jordan. Wahlberg. Jordan. Waltz. Jordan. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. Jordan. Webster of Florida. Jordan. Winstrup. Jordan. Westerman. Jordan. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of New York. Jordan. Williams of Texas. Jordan. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Jordan. Whitman. Jordan. Womack. Scalise. Yakum. Jordan. Zinke.
Jim Jordan of Ohio.
Jordan.
Should have 4 missing. Your first one is going to be Mr. Payne. Yeah. Yeah. So she'll call again.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Payne. Jeffries. Sparts. Jordan. Tlaib. Jeffries. Trone. Jeffries.
With that process done and the numbers there on the screen, now the tallying finishing up and paperwork to be signed, and then it's on to next steps. As far as what next steps specifically, nobody knows at this point, but Representative Jim Jordan with 199 members of Congress supporting him, Republicans, he got 200 yesterday, you'll remember. Hakeem Jeffries with the same 212 from his Democratic coalition, and then 22 voting against Representative Jordan, nobody voting present. And so this is finishing up, and we'll wait and see what next steps are as the paperwork and the final dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's is done.
The House will come to order. The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 433, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 199. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212. The Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California has received 5. The Honorable Byron Donalds of the state of Florida has received 1. The Honorable Tom Emmer of the state of Minnesota has received 1. Lee Zeldin of the state of New York has received 3. The Honorable Steve Scalise of the state of Louisiana has received 7. The Honorable Mike Garcia of the state of California has received 1. Candace Miller of the state of Michigan has received 1. John Boehner of the state of Ohio has received 1. The Honorable Kay Granger of the state of Texas has received 1. The Honorable Bruce Westerman of the state of Arkansas has received 1. No person having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname, a speaker has not been elected. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.